This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
This podcast is supported by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
As soon as I found out we were going to have a baby, I wanted to make sure that whatever we slept on or came into contact with was safe from toxins or anything harmful. So I bought Koyuchi sheets and towels. Koyuchi was exactly what we needed. Not only are they certified organic to the highest standards, they're also just amazing. We have the Koyuchi Organic Crinkled Percale Sheets. They're 100% organic cotton and woven to be naturally cooling, super soft, and breathable. And I honestly just sleep better with them. Of course, now our baby registry has a lot of Koyuchi on it too. Crib sheets, blankets, and a snuggle sack. All the best for him or her. Everything we have from Koyuchi feels good, looks good, and is safe for our whole family.
Get 15% off when you visit Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com to get 15% off. Koyuchi.com.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
Here we are back on a hot Saturday, and I hope you are ready to go. We're looking at this one and another one. What is this one? What is another one? 2026 ballot initiatives. Looking forward to it. How about you? Yes, back in the driver's seat for Freedom Fools, one of 3. Yes, 3 shows born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. Welcome to August 9th. And we are getting closer and closer and closer to, you know it, Christmas. I know it doesn't feel like Christmas outside, but it's getting closer. We less than half a year, less than 6 months away from Christmas. But on today, Saturday, August 9th, it is International Co-working Day. International Co-working Day, and also World Day for Indigenous People. We are reminded that Tricky Dick, President Richard Milhous Nixon, became the first U.S. president to resign from office. And it all came down to the Watergate scandal. If it had just been, this is my opinion, if it had just been, yeah, we're responsible for the break-in, we never would have gone down this whole road. But he had to try to keep that secret, and he didn't do a good job of it. His people didn't do a good job of it. Bingo, bango, caught. Vice President Gerald Ford became president, and you know what happened after that. The Brian's Beat quote of the day. I always wanted to make sure my parents didn't have to work again for the rest of their lives. I always wanted to make sure my parents didn't have to work again for the rest of their lives. He accomplished his deed. I'm not saying that neither parent worked again, but Deion Sanders, as a professional baseball player, a professional football player, as a college coach, as a high school coach, and as a big-time coach, and as a guy who's fighting cancer. He lived up to that dream to make sure that his parents did not have to work again for the rest of their lives. So on Wednesday, I believe, was the date. Maybe what day was the 7th? Thursday? Yes, 7th. Thursday. Initiative petitions for the 2026 ballot needed to be in. And some 47 different initiative petitions were filed with the Attorney General's office. They go there first to make sure that the language is all nice and tight, and then they can turn around and actually be certified to go out and get signatures. There are quite a few. We're going to talk about at least two on the program today. Next hour, we're going to be dealing with the initiative petition to make sure those smart meters that Eversource is going to be making sure people have, we're going to try to make sure that they are opt-in meters as opposed to opting out types of meters. Right now, I want to get to one of the earlier petitions filed, an initiative petition to protect tenants by limiting rent increases. Some folks will call it rent stabilization. Other people call it rent control. The purpose of this act, the initiative petition, is to protect housing stability for tenants, landlords, and communities across the Commonwealth, and curb displacement as a result of the housing shortage and affordability crisis here in the Commonwealth. Now, I've talked to quite a few people in regards to this, and because I don't know the exact number, I'm going to say it's in that gray area somewhere between 40% for and 40% against this question. Joining us today in the program is the president of the New Bedford NAACP, and she is also the president, I believe, of, or maybe chairman of United Interfaith. And she's been with us plenty of times on the program talking about a multitude of issues. Please welcome back Renee Ledbetter. Renee, good afternoon, and welcome to Freedom Fools.
Good afternoon, Brian. Thank you for having me.
So I know your organization met the other evening, and you were going to make some kind of decision. I don't know the answer to this. So you were going to make some form of decision over this whole ballot question dealing with limiting rent increases. What did your group decide?
So United Interfaith Action, we support rent stabilization as an organization. However, there's not an official proposal on the ballot yet, meaning like we don't know exactly how the ballot measure would be worded or what would specifically be proposed at this time. Kind of too early because it hasn't been written yet.
So what I'm reading right now is just a proposal. How does the Attorney General decide if it's constitutional enough to be put on the ballot?
I think at this, I don't think we really know what the Attorney General's office would consider constitutional, but I would hope that they would consider making sure that there's equitable access to housing across the board. Meaning, we're not saying that you can't raise the rent, right? We're asking that the rent be raised in moderation, like 5% versus 50 or 75%, So hoping that the Attorney General's office looks at that language when we say we want to remove the statewide ban on rent stabilization, what we're saying is we want to make sure that things are equitable for, the constituents in the state. I mean, we really need to do something to solve our huge housing crisis. And there's two things we can do. We need more affordable housing, but in the meantime, in between time, we could also make sure that we have rent stabilization where the rent is regulated ongoing, where it's, 5% increase a year and not more than that. And I could speak for myself where my rent was raised probably 50%, if not more, within a year's time.
And that's a place that you've been in for quite some time, so it was a massive jump.
Yes.
So let's talk about Renee Ledbetter is joining us on the program today. Renee, you said affordable housing. I would turn around and say to you, no matter how much money I'm making at this particular time, where do you find affordable housing? If rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is going for $2,000 a month, that might be affordable for me, but not necessarily affordable for you. So the term affordable housing seems to be out there in the stratosphere. How do you put a cap? Who names a cap?
Right. So I think it's not a or, it's like a and both type of thing. So what you said, Brian, affordable to you may not be affordable to me. But if you raise my rent, let's say we'll go as far as 25%. Do you think I got a 25% raise that year? So affordable is based off of, I think, what the person can afford. And
to be clear, when you say the person, you mean the tenant, not necessarily the landlord.
Right, the tenant. So, I mean, if you have a 3-story tenement, just say you have a 2-story tenement, and say mortgages are high as well, right? So it's not just rent, it's mortgages, and I get it. And I know people are worried about taxes going up, and so they want to raise the rent. But if your mortgage is $2,000 a month, and you're charging $2,400 each tenant, how is that equitable for them?
I get what you're saying. I think we probably should be clear about this. The units that are going to be covered under this have to be more than 4 units and not owner occupied. So, I mean, once again, I'm getting a bad echo. I don't know about you.
I don't.
Are you on a speakerphone or are you?
No, I can be though.
No, I don't want you to be. At any rate, sounds better now.
Okay.
So, you're talking the tenant, and I understand. I have been in that position numerous times in my life. But what if that isn't affordable for the landlord anymore? Maybe the landlord had some undue experience with that particular unit, and maybe the insurance, the taxes, everything has gone up to the point maybe they've got an adjustable mortgage and they can't get out of it. So what are they supposed to do?
Right, and I understand that, and I think that's why we need both. We need more affordable housing, so that way when there are situations where, say, the landlord changes and somebody buys a house and the mortgage is more and they want to raise the rent, that person, the tenant that lives in that unit, has to have a place to go. And if there's not an option of enough affordable housing, then we may be displacing another family.
Well, I think aren't we there already? We don't have enough affordable housing. See, I guess to me, those are two different things: affordable housing and controlling the rent, or how you go about it. I definitely believe we need more housing. I think you develop more housing and then the affordability part works its way out from there. I don't know how you can say, okay, build affordable housing as opposed to just saying, go ahead and build housing.
No, I think it's in both. You know, we need more housing, obviously. We need affordable housing, and we need stable housing. So what I'm talking about is regulating the rent gouging. You know, because right now we're at gouging rents, and we need to get to we know they're going to raise rent, but, you know, like in 1994, they abolished rent control, right? So, but it was a very small margin that they won that, and that was in 1994. So by banning, by taking off the ban, removing the ban of rent control, it gives each city and town the ability to choose what they want to do, you know, with their landlords, property owners, so on and so forth.
So you believe that this would give the city councils, town boards the right to control how much rent would go up?
Yes.
I see. I don't read that in, and maybe this is to your point. We don't know exactly what the question will read, but what I have read here doesn't seem to point to the fact that, excuse me, city or town boards get to make that decision. This looks like it's sweeping consumer price index or 5%, whichever is lower.
Right. Which is better than 50%.
Well, I won't argue that, but for the tenants, you're absolutely correct. But it might not be for that apartment owner, that building owner.
Right. And I think it's, you know, it's like I said, it's housing has gotten so much worse since the 90s, since they, you know, took away rent control, since they, you know, took the city's abilities to be able to do that. So housing has gotten so much worse. We have a large problem with homelessness, and I know that this conversation is about rent stabilization and the legislature and what they're going to do, because they just started working on this probably a few weeks ago, and so without knowing what the language looks like, it's kind of hard to talk about, but we can talk about the problems that we are having with, you hear people call your radio show complaining that there are people defecating in parks. There are people doing things, sleeping in different places where it's on private property. There's all kinds of issues with people all over the place, and we talk about, you know, criminalizing homelessness and all these different things that people want to happen because, you know, of their property value going down because of it or whatever the situation is. But then at the same time saying we don't want to be able to let people live comfortably or affordably because the landlords might want to raise the rent 50%. Instead of 5.
So
you know
I would agree. I would agree with you that there are people who are not living or living outside of an apartment or some type of sheltered housing because they can't afford rent. But there are also other people that are, you know, the defecators, we'll call them that are out there. I don't know how many of them are really looking for something in the affordable range. I think that you've got a lot of people that are roaming the streets, and those that are careless about where they do go to the bathroom, they're not the ones that a landlord is looking to put up in his or her apartment.
Right. There's people like me that work, that are homeless, living in cars with their kids. You know, there's or not if they don't have any kids. There's elderly, seniors that are being put out of their homes because they've been there for years, and you know their rent was maybe $850, and now it's $2,000. You know what I mean? So there's
that's a huge
I'm talking
jump.
about the people, Right. It's a huge jump. And, even in order for people to afford to live with the rents that are being charged now, the cost, the pay rate probably needs to go up again then, And then what happens then? Then the businesses and nonprofits and all these organizations are complaining because they don't have the money and they have to cut staff, right? So,
well, yeah, I would agree with you. But Renee, right, I would add to this. People cannot afford the rents that are out there today, correct?
Right.
So
correct.
If you have a 5% per year cap on rent, they're still going to be behind the 8 ball. They're never going to be able to catch up.
I think they'd be able to catch up more than if it was a larger gap. You know what I mean? And I get what you're saying. I hear you, and I appreciate the fact that, everyone needs to be able to afford to live, including landlords. So you're right, yes. Landlords need to afford to live as well. But we can't displace people or put people in a position where it sets them up to fail in order for us to succeed. And that's about human dignity.
And I would agree with you, but where I won't agree with the theory is that we are putting them out there. Is it the landlord? Maybe. Is it the person for not going out and getting a 4th or 5th job? Maybe. But I don't like the idea of all of a sudden it's on my back because somebody else can't afford rent. Right.
Yeah, I get it. But can a senior citizen go out there and, they're not going to go out there and get a job, because if they do, then their benefits get cut. You know what I mean? So it's like...
No, I don't. Why would their benefits get cut?
I have like 2 or 3 jobs right now.
Well,
right?
But hold on. Why would their benefits get cut?
Because you could only work so many hours.
After you turn 65 or 67, right. That changes.
Right.
But at 60, then you can work as many hours.
You can work a full-time job.
Sure can.
And still get your benefits.
Your Social Security.
If you get Social Security, yeah.
Yes, if you get... Well, and if you don't, then you don't have to worry about it. Now, there are people that are on disability. That's an entirely different subject. Right. You'll take a couple of calls, right?
Yeah.
508-996-0500 to get on the program today. We're talking about rent stabilization or rent control with the United Interfaith Action's chairman or president?
President.
President Renee Ledbetter. You're first up of the program. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am.
Interesting topic, rent control. We once upon a time had it in Cambridge, Boston, Somerville, and then
Springfield.
They voted away.
And your thoughts?
Hello?
Your thoughts?
Well, I think they need to come up with something fair for both tenants and landlords. But I don't think they want to work things out.
And they would be?
The tenants should be able to afford rent, and the landlord should be getting their rent money.
Sure, but I'm sorry. You stated they don't want to work it out. Who are the they?
The tenants and landlords don't want to work it out.
Okay. Renee,
some
any
landlords
comment?
do, but a lot of them don't.
Renee?
I agree. I agree with what he's saying. We should be able to work it out, and by working it out is putting a percentage on how much you can raise. And like he said, some landlords do, some landlords don't. It's a matter of, I think it's a matter of opinion, I think. And
yeah, I would say so. But I think
go ahead, caller.
I think they need to sit down peacefully and negotiate something that they both are in favor with. By people feuding with each other and bad-mouthing each other, it's not going to go anywhere.
Renee?
Yes. I mean, I can't even argue with that. Like, we can't keep going back and forth with whether we should, whether we shouldn't. We need to come up with something that's reasonable, that both landlords and tenants can agree upon, and that's what the legislature's for. That's what our state officials are for, is to make sure that they are kind of like the mediators in order to make sure that both parties are able to survive and afford to live by setting, laws and bills that create housing that people, landlords and tenants, are satisfied with.
Well, I guess part of me wants to agree, but the libertarian in me says, no, you don't want government because one way or the other, government is going to be one-sided. And it's a matter of, are the tenants going to be able to form some type of PAC and have somebody lobbying on their behalf compared to what the landlords would be able to do? I don't think, I think that they could, but I don't think that they're as strong as the landlord association or whatever they call that, their name. But once again, it's people lobbying on Beacon Hill to the point that we've got a group out there right now that is sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they went out and they put on an initiative petition because Beacon Hill lawmakers aren't doing anything.
Right. So I think, you're everybody's right in this instance, right? There's no right or wrong answer right now. I just think we need to come up with some type of a solution that is going to create opportunities for all. Because right now, we're looking at federal budget cuts that will eliminate housing vouchers or lower the amount of housing vouchers that are out there. So now you have the people that are receiving, those vouchers now being affected. We need the option of rent stabilization to go along with these other programs. You know what I mean? That we support. We support those programs, right? Some of us do. We support those programs. We want affordable housing. We want all these things. But until that is done, in the meantime, in between time, we need to come up with a solution that is going to allow our tenants and our landlords to be able to both be happy. So we're not asking them to not raise the rent. We're just asking them to increase it 5% per year and limit no-fault evictions. The current legislation right now, would allow cities, towns to decide for themselves to put a limit on it. If that's the
put a limit on what, please?
If that's what the language is, if that's the language they put out in the bill, it would have just allowed.
I don't see anything about not allowing a landlord to decide when they would like to evict a tenant, whether it's at will or at the.
No, I'm saying cities and towns.
Why should a city or town make that decision? Isn't that a landlord decision? What's the sense of being a landlord if you can't rule over your property?
Well, no, I don't think anyone's saying they can't, but we're just asking that they do it in moderation. Do it in moderation.
I hear you, but what does that mean? What is moderation to you is different than moderation to me, which might be different than moderation to that landlord who might be facing a tunnel of bills and they're trying to get out from underneath it. I'm just saying.
What would a landlord, and I'm not trying to be funny, but what would a landlord tell a tenant if a tenant said, I can't pay the rent, I'm going to lower my rent because I have a ton of bills that, I need to get out from under. At the end of the day, we all are responsible for managing our own income and our finances. So if you're a landlord and you're in a position like that, then maybe you should sell your property.
Well, I mean, and that's it, and you're absolutely correct. You're right. It might come down to something like that. And to the previous caller's point, and I think you more or less alluded to it, it might be something that the tenant and the landlord need to negotiate. 508-996-0500. You're on with Renee Ledbetter. Hello.
Hello, Brian and Renee. So we already had a housing crunch before we let all these illegal immigrants in here. And now they've taken the landlords, the ones that took advantage of it, took all this money from the state to house these people. And they're getting vouchers ahead of other people so that they can get their apartments in the home-based program. Now, when they use up that money and it's gone, and they can't pay their rent if they haven't gotten a job. Now all that money went to the landlord, and now he has to pay all that money to get them out if they can't pay it. And where are they going to go then? Are they going to get another voucher? The reason that an apartment on Jovette Street is $1,900 right now is because the last 4 years, the state has been upping the rent to everybody to get the illegal aliens in. So now people who aren't illegal aliens have to pay the exact same price as the state is paying. We have to go against the state to get an apartment, and the state has infinitely more money, even though it's our money. It's got more money than we do. Now we can't get these apartments because they've gone outside the realm of what people can afford for even lousy apartments in this city, because the state has paid rents for people who don't have jobs, came here illegally, paid them all kinds of money, and now it's coming to the point 2 years later, 3 years later, where that money's gone that they were given, and now they can't, a lot of them can't pay their bills and can't pay, how are they paying $600 a month electricity bills if they couldn't pay rent? Where was that coming from? Who was paying that as well? So now they're asked to come up with a $2,000 rent a month that the government was paying these landlords, and they can't do it. I can't do it. A lot of people can't do it. So a lot of the problem came from this, but nobody from these nonprofits stood up and said, no, don't let all these illegals in and don't give them these home-based programs because it's going to ruin it for everybody else.
All right, let's hear from Renee. Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
I guess we can say the same for United States citizens. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone that is struggling financially, somehow, some way, is receiving assistance from the state. And I'm not going to really address the, migrant issues that she brought up because I don't, that's not.
It's just another layer on top of the existing problem.
It's not a thing that's creating the problems, right? So I don't know. It's just.
Would you agree it might not be creating the problem? The problem was there before, but it's exasperating the problem?
I am not sure if it's exasperating the problem. I think it's a choice. I think everyone has a choice on what they do. And if a landlord removes someone, okay, so I'm one of a person that was asked to move for, family members from another country to move in. So I wouldn't necessarily agree or disagree with anything, because that's not like my role. But what I would say is it's up to the landlord, right, to make those sound decisions. Okay. And everything that we choose is a personal choice. So if a landlord is looking to pad their pockets, I think it's highway robbery either way. Whether you're an immigrant or a citizen, it doesn't matter. If you're looking to raise the rent because the state, I think she said because the state told them they could raise the rent because there's they could put illegal,
I'm not quite sure that's what she was stating, but the state was willing to pay X amount of dollars, which was more than what that landlord was getting. And so now the landlord has been living at that particular level.
Right.
So now you've got people that have been here that have to pay that new rent, and that's a rent that they cannot afford. Renee, hold tight. We've got some other callers. I'm going to get to them. I also have to pay a bill or two. You're listening to Freedom Fools on WBSM.
To change something, you must build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
My measure is really simple. I got a bunch of kids. Can they afford houses with full-time jobs at like 27, 28? And the answer is no way. And the answer is that 35-year-olds with really good jobs can't afford a house unless they stretch and go deep into debt.
Welcome back to Freedom Fools on WBSM. Renee Ledbetter is our guest. She is the prez of United Interfaith Action. We're talking about rent control or rent stabilization, a possible 2026 Massachusetts ballot question. Hello, you're on with Renee.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hello.
Brian, I believe in rent control. We need it real bad. The rent around this area, $2,000. Okay, if a landlord has a 3-decker, he's making $72,000 in income. Now, if he can't run a 3-decker with a lot less than that, then he's got a problem. Sell the house. That's what I tell him. You go to any of these elderly apartments now. 3 years ago, I went to an elderly place looking for to move. It was $1,750 for one bedroom, $1,950 for 2 bedrooms. You have to pay your own utilities. Last week, I went back. It's $2,500 for 1 bedroom and $3,500 for 2 bedroom. That's ridiculous, and they're all over $2,000 in this area.
So I'll let Renee comment. I'll just add this: under the proposed ballot initiative, that triple decker that you're talking about doesn't qualify. So in other words, you would have to have 4 or more units and not owner occupied.
Yeah.
Renee?
Yes. And I think his sentiments are, if you ask, thousands of other people, they will tell you the same thing. They believe that we need to start stabilizing these rents. The word control seems like it's a little bit too strong of a word. So I think stabilization, to make sure that people are stable where they're at, and that's the whole reason for that word. And I just wanted to say, the bill does not stop all rent increases. It allows for the cost of living increases of up to 5% annually, which is within reason. And it does not mandate rent control for new construction or so on and so forth, or what you said for landlords with less than 5 units. So, at the end of the day, it's not really stopping all rent rate increases, but it is limiting to those tenements on Javette Street, like the woman spoke about. And it has nothing to do with immigrants. It has everything to do with people's choice.
Okay.
Right? It has everything to do with someone's personal choice.
Caller, would you like to make one more comment there?
Yeah, and every tenement that you go look at is you're going to pay your own utilities besides that, besides the $2,000. And the $2,000, it don't matter if you're down the South End, West End, North End. I look every week on Facebook. It gives you all apartments that are available throughout the area, and you might find 1 or 2 that maybe 17 or 19, but 99% of them are all over $2,000, and that. I think it's terrible. It's
certainly outside the realm for this area. I would agree with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Manny, thanks for your call. I do appreciate it. Let's get another one in there. Hello, you're on with Renee Ledbetter.
Well, Brian, thanks for having Renee on. Thanks for being on, Renee. Where does this ballot question be at now? Is it a done deal?
Nope.
Or
not at all.
They got enough signatures? What?
Go ahead, Renee.
No, it's not. Okay, it's not a ballot question yet. I don't know what the language is going to look like, but it's right now in the works. It's in the Attorney General's office where they're looking at the language. It's a bill. If it doesn't pass this year through the legislature, then we'll have the option of collecting, 100,000 plus signatures of registered voters across the state.
Now, I heard on a news report that they got 90,000 signatures, but the news report did not say whether that was already enough once it's vetted to be on the ballot with all those other.
Can I take a stab at it?
Yeah.
Go to it.
All right. So, the beginning of September, the Attorney General will make a recommendation to the Secretary of State whether the language that was used is good enough or constitutional enough for the folks to then go out and gather about 75,000 valid signatures. They'll have to gather those signatures up until around Christmas time. Then the certification process goes through, and if it's certified and the legislature doesn't make a move on it at that particular time, the people will have to go out and get more signatures. Once those signatures have been certified, then it will be approved for a ballot question.
Okay, one question on that. Therefore, this news blip that said they've got 90,000 signatures, whatever people are signing is not the end language that is required for a valid signature count. Is that correct? They don't have a valid signature count because they don't have the exact wording that will be necessary.
I don't know that to be true or false.
All
I'm
right,
just being
on
honest.
other matters. Adam Smith was one of the great theorists of capitalism, and even he said that when capitalism can't solve a problem, then the government has to step in and save the people. In this case, supply and demand is not working because, as the economists say, there's a disequilibrium on the balance between the two. New Bedford doesn't have enough high-wage earners. It's $29,000 a year average to pay these high rents, and in 2 years or more, outside developers have not been attracted to come into New Bedford in any great saving way for us, because the people of New Bedford in general can't pay these high prices they would demand. So the mayor was counting on gentrification of outsiders coming in who can retire here with big paychecks to do it, but nothing has happened in 2 years.
So
they got 750.
Only for time. I'm going to cut you. Renee can really read to what you're just saying. I'm going to let her do it. Thank you. Renee?
Okay. Yes.
You know what he's talking about.
I'm trying to, yeah. I'm trying to get the words out there. But
I got here, then I'll do it for you. You got suckered into that whole thing yourself, and you ended up on the losing end of the stick.
Is that what he's saying?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I mean, you felt the brunt of it. You ended up leaving the city because of what he was talking about.
Well, I actually came back to the city because I was in one of these suburban surrounding areas in Fairhaven, and it's no better there. It's not any better there than it is here. I was fortunate enough to find a beautiful apartment, but I'm paying over $2,000, in order to live there. So I'm still working 2 or 3 jobs in order to, be able to buy food. You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
At the end of the day, Like, I understand where people are at, but I also understand that, you know, we all have to live in a world where we're able to survive. And, you know, this is why we had the action in June. And this is why we brought the legislators to the table and asked them if they would support this bill. But unfortunately, we have, you know, the Speaker of the House doesn't support that. So I don't really think, I doubt that it's going to even make it in the legislature. And I think we're going to end up having to go get these signatures. And it would be statewide. It's not, it wouldn't just affect New Bedford. But I think it's important that we know if you know, whether or not we're going to solve our huge housing crisis is a whole nother question. But there's different ways where we could do that. And one is affordable housing. The other is rent stabilization. And, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but at the end of the day, you know, our housing situation is so much worse than it ever was. And we need to get it back on track. And if that means that we need to bring in, like he was talking about, more businesses and things like that, yes, we definitely need, we got a Chick-fil-A coming to Dartmouth, right? But maybe
all right, only because I want to get to another caller, Renee. Let me try to get one more in here. Hello, thank you for waiting. You're on with Renee Ledbetter.
Miss Ledbetter, you need to do more of your studying on the issues. Massachusetts is the fourth highest in the nation for rent. The average is $1,900. You would have to make at least $30 an hour to keep up with the rents, and there's no way in hell that's going to happen. Our politicians created this mess, and now we're going to have a ballot initiative because they don't want to do their job. Maura Healey spent $3 billion on illegal aliens, and now she wants to spend another $5 billion. They've been getting $30,000 a year, the migrants, per family, to put them in apartments. So she's moving them out of shelters and hotels to put them into apartments that's going to compound the situation. It's because of state subsidies that our rents are going through the roof, $1,900 and above. Now, you imagine all of these illegal aliens taking up the rest of the whatever apartments are left and how much we're going to pay. You're on the wrong side. You're supporting illegal aliens and not the elderly, veterans, and hard-working families who are getting,
No, I'm supporting myself. I'm here to speak for those hardworking families and myself.
You're speaking for them, not for us.
And anyone else.
Both of you, please. Both of you, please. I know from where Renee is coming from, and while I don't necessarily agree, she does not speak for the illegals. Trust me on that. Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, I'm here to speak for all of those who can't speak for themselves. I'm here to speak, to give a voice to the voiceless and make sure that people like myself, who is a working person, who is struggling with my own rent issues, are able to afford these rents. And when the rent does go up in a year, that it doesn't go up 50%, it only goes up 5%. So I'm here speaking on behalf of anyone that is struggling with rent stabilization.
Gotcha. Renee, only because of time.
Okay.
We're going to have you back. This issue is not going to go away. I do believe you are correct that it's going to be a ballot question, as was the previous caller, because, quite frankly, there is very little trust in our legislature. I'll give you 20 seconds. Anything you want to add?
Just, the reminder, the bill is just removing the ban on rent control. It's not mandating rent control, but it removes the ban to allow cities and towns to decide for ourselves. We want the option to decide for ourselves in our own cities and towns.
Gotcha. Renee, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. Like I said, we'll have you back.
Thank you.
All right. Renee Ledbetter, she is the president of United Interfaith Action, speaking for the side for rent stabilization. Many of us call that rent control. She may not, but, it is what it is. And we definitely will be speaking on this throughout the days, weeks, months, and hopefully not too much longer after that.
Nothing is easier than to prove that something human has imperfections. I'm amazed how many people devote themselves to that task.
Normal people with normal jobs no longer believe they can win in this system, and that all the money is going to the worst people. And no one even stops to ask what the hell is going on. So that is a national emergency.
I think Tucker Carlson got it right. It is a national emergency.
Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by outsourcing around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest. And now you, the consumer, are paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. So when you buy from American Giant, you're taking a stand for hardworking people, local communities, and quality clothes. American Giant directly supports American manufacturers and ensures you aren't footing that tariff bill. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.